Alright, today we're in a beautiful property in rural Ohio. I've been trying to get a good video of the Steiner sweeper sweeping leaves. Last year I didn't have much luck. This year I'm a little early. This property, not all the leaves have come down, but there's enough to try to get a decent video of what this thing will pick up. Now, there might not look like there's a lot of leaves here, but there is quite a few here. And there'll be a couple other areas I'll be moving to where there's more. This is the largest area I'm going to start out at, and we'll sweep this, and then I'll move from area to area and see if we can fill this. I was wanting to hold off on doing this video until a week or two, but the weather's not looking good next week. It's supposed to, they're calling for lots of rain, cold temperatures, and I don't want to get stuck like I did last year, wait too long and not be able to get you guys a video on this. So I'm going to do this one today, and if the weather cooperates here in the next week or so, I got some other properties in line and I'm going to try to do them as well. So let me get everything set up and let's get started. I sort of wanted to show, trying to get best camera angle I can in here. After making a pass, you can see where this will just push the leaves up and push them to the back, to the rear of it, and it'll just sort of roll these leaves around here in this drum, and the more you get in there, the more it should pack. Now the leaves over here that I'm doing are dry, so this will be a little bit of a test. Now the other ones, it's still early enough, there was a lot of dew, they're wet, so it's going to be a test on seeing how many leaves this thing can pack. Alright, been sweeping quite a bit. I got the hopper full. There is room for compaction in here yet, but I really don't want to overdo it because I don't want to break anything, even though I do want to see how many leaves I can really get in here. A lot of this, hopefully the camera can pick up in these shaded areas, but I mean, there is a lot of leaves. And I know it doesn't look like a lot on this camera, but you'll be able to see my tire marks. I went around a lot. I mean, it picked up quite a large area of leaves. So these are mostly dry. This is where the sun's been hitting it this morning. I'm going to go ahead and we'll take this back. We'll dump it, see how many leaves we got, and then I'll start on some wet ones to see what we can do there. One other thing I did want to point out is how clean this thing it really swept. I mean, there is a few scragglers around here that are blowing around, but for the most part there was a lot of these little leaves, and it did a very good job getting all these little leaves and stuff up off the ground. Even the spots that aren't as thick with grass, it did a very good job of picking up everything. I'm pretty happy with that. There was quite a few sticks and twigs in here as well, and even some of them were bigger than this size, and it crammed that stuff up in there and didn't have any issues with it. I didn't see any wheels dragging. So you can sweep up some small sticks. I mean, you got to keep in mind you don't want nothing too thick, but I tried to pick up most of the big stuff I seen, but you can pick up little branches in it. Alright, come back here. I found a spot in the woods to dump. Let's go ahead and open up and see how much we compacted in here. Guys, this is a solid brick of leaves this thing compacted. It's almost as solid as a bale. Alright, hopper bin's completely empty. I got it all out of there. I know it probably on camera doesn't look like a lot of leaves, but it's quite a bit of leaves, guys. It really compacted them in there, and it's a pretty dense pile. You reach down in here and grab onto some. They're compacted pretty good. A lot of the stuff that I got out of here at the end was compacted pretty tight. So, like I said, I could have probably went some more, got a little more in here, but I don't want to jam nothing up or snap or break anything, so I'm being a little conservative. But let me close this up. We'll head up there, set up where some wet leaves are, and we'll see how it works with them. Alright, I did all back there. That was mostly dry where the sun was, like I said. Now in here, a lot of these are still wet. These haven't had a chance to get to dry out this morning. They've dried out a little bit, but the grass is still wet in here, so I'm gonna go ahead and sweep up everything in here. Like I said, I'm gonna leave some little sticks you can leave, but you know, bigger stuff like this I wouldn't suggest trying to sweep up. But I'll go around here and we'll see how it does with the wetter leaves here on the grass. Alright, the wet went fairly well. Like I said, not only were the leaves damp and wet, but the grass is completely wet. Now I couldn't get under all the trees completely because with the roll bar I'm a little vertically challenged here. But for the grass, you can see just on my boot what the bristles are throwing up. I can definitely tell a big difference on these leaves compared to the other ones I did, the dry ones over there, just for the fact of the hopper's half full and the weight of this thing, putting my hand in here, just how the tractor's pulling it half full like this, it's pulling as hard as it was in the other section with the dry leaves. So dry is definitely the better way to go here. I'm going to set up and see if I can get a few more in here of some wet ones up there on the hill before I go dump this. Alright, this is probably one attachment that I'd be careful with on hills. As you can see, this is a pretty good slope. I didn't have any problems getting up on here, but I was sweeping up walnuts and trying to climb this hill on all these marbles. Wet grass and walnuts on a hill doesn't really mix for a good combination, but I wanted to hit some of the walnuts. I got some of them in there. It swept them up. So when I clean that out, I'll see how that does. So that was another comment before people asked. So you can go over some walnuts, but I think I'm done here because I don't want to play around on the hill too much and get hurt. So it can do it. I was in low range. I wouldn't have wanted to try that in high range. I don't know if it would have done it real well. So I'm going to continue over here real quick. There's still quite a few leaves over here. Little twigs and branches. Some bigger branches here, which I'm not going to try to sweep that up, but I'm going to hit the rest over here and then we'll go empty this hopper and see how it looks. Alright, I attempted to clean up all these leaves over here yet with what I had in that hopper, but I only got a couple passes and the wheel's starting to slide, so that means something's binding up. It could either be these leaves are so wet right now and compacted that's probably a pretty good sign. I don't want to push it before I break something, or it's them walnuts. So walnuts probably aren't a good idea to put in one of these. Like I said, you can go over them. I probably wouldn't recommend it. Let me go over to the dump site and open this up and see if it's just leaves or if it's walnuts giving us trouble. So let's see how the wet leaves work. So I still got a decent pile. It's pretty good, but you can definitely see where these wet leaves, they don't mix as well down here. Yeah, it's jamming up really bad right through here, but there is some decent sized little sticks. It did shove the walnuts up through there somewhat, but like I said, I definitely would not suggest going over walnuts on purpose. If you didn't have to, I'd probably rake them ahead of time. But let me pull forward and clean all this stuff out and then see what we got. Alright, so getting down in here now that I pulled forward, you can see the verdict. These wet leaves, they jam in here, and there's sticks and other debris. Now you can sweep wet leaves, but it definitely works a lot better if they're dry. So it can be done, but keep in mind, if you do use these for wet leaves, I would definitely probably empty the hopper when it gets about half full. And you can tell because the more weight you get in this thing and the more it struggles to push and compact with these, the harder it is to pull. So you can definitely tell just by the feel of the tractor when it's time to unload. Alright, I hope this video answered some of the questions a lot of you guys commented before. I hope this is what you were wanting to see in a leaf video. Like I said, I wish I could have done a broad, more dense area of leaves, but I'm going to try to get one if we get some more leaves down, and as long as the weather cooperates yet this year. So there may be a follow-up video. I will try to get one on pine needles. I know some of you have commented before asking about pine needles. A friend of ours had a bunch of pine trees, but saw them the other day and he just got to raking them up before I could get down there. So I think this would work very well on pine needles, and I am going to try to get a video for you guys on that as well. So just sort of a overview. The screen I made worked great. It kept all the leaves in, didn't let everything blow out, so the screen worked well. Pretty much big sticks, you don't want to run over anything too big. And I would say walnuts, after cleaning that out, it did get them in the hopper, but I would strongly recommend not going over walnuts if you can help it. I would definitely rake them up by hand ahead of time. This sweeper is really not designed for that. Like I said, it did crush the few that I had in there and put them through the holes, but I think it would do more harm to the unit than it would any good for it. So other than that, try to keep watching the videos. I'm going to try to keep putting some more of this on here this year, and next year I'm going to try to do some of this sweeper mowing offset style, so when I'm mowing, it's sweeping the grass as I go. As always, thanks for watching.